All right, everyone, we've got an interesting timeline over literally the last, 10 days, in which the Democrats threw up their final Hail Mary before the midterm election. They're not going to have time to do this again. There's not going to be an October surprise. If there is, it'll probably be that Trump's approval has soared in the wake of the immigration crisis, and maybe the Democrats came crying to him, please let us pass some sort of border legislation before the midterms. Please have mercy on us. But I'll give you three names, and these three names are why the Democratic Party has failed on the immigration issue. Chuck Schumer, Maxine Waters, and Nancy Pelosi. Those are the three names that, well, technically Tom Perez too. Nancy Pelosi's the more visible sort of leader of the Dems. It's basically, there are three leaders of the Democratic Party, okay? Tom Perez, he's the hidden behind the scenes sort of dude. He's very powerful. He runs the fucking DNC, but you don't really see or hear much from him. Occasionally he'll talk to the news, give him a couple sentences to keep him happy. He's sort of like a Boehner. He doesn't want to be very visible. Sort of hides. Then you have Hillary Clinton. She's not in office, but ideologically speaking, she's the most powerful Democrat. She's the big money candidate, former presidential candidate, almost sort of beat Trump, and she remains visible because she's Hillary Clinton and she wouldn't have it any other way, and the Democrats want her to go away, but she won't. Then you have Nancy Pelosi. She's the more visible sort of spokesperson of the Democratic Party. Sort of Tom Perez, if Tom Perez were 10 years older and actually liked to be on a teleprompter. But you look at the Democrats right now on immigration. They had the opportunity to score some cheap political capital, and really they could rally the youth, they could rally the further left, and probably decline Trump's approval by a good 5-10 points. They could have crushed him, rubbed his nose into the dirt. Instead, they totally fucked up. They had an opportunity in the wake of the detention center sort of thing. They were doing everything right. They were doing the sort of propaganda. What they could have done is say, okay, Mr. Trump, it is clear this is not acceptable. We need you to back some sort of immigration reform legislation. Because remember, a few days before, he had declined the Republicans' own watered-down immigration deal. They had an opportunity to rub his face and then say, well, look at the results. This is all your fault. You're the one who's, executing the law. We need to change it and we need to do it immediately. The Republicans are on board. They already passed a deal. We would have signed it at this point. They had an opportunity. Instead, Chuck Schumer came out. He's the first one. He comes out and he says, well, we're not going to even consider legislation. Trump has to sign a piece of paper. Now, I think he speculated Trump wouldn't, but Trump did. And it really, really, really irked him, I think. Because he was, Chuck Schumer doesn't say much then after that, does he? And then they try to go with a secondary attack of, well, this isn't going to be grandfathered in for some of these people. And Trump's like, hey, I literally can't do anything in an executive fashion to solve the issue further. Basically pass legislation. So that really torpedoes him. Then Maxine Waters comes out with her bullshit. And in the wake of this crisis, she gets self-righteous and thinks it's a good idea to instruct her fans to go and harass Trump admin officials, which is a stand-in for anyone wearing a MAGA hat, trust me. And everybody her fans know it, I know it, the Trump super fans know it, Trump knows it. He came out today, literally about an hour ago, and calls this disgraceful. And says, well, the Senate should take action. Even Chuck Schumer himself is like, well, we probably shouldn't react to the Trump administration this way. Now, he's sitting there sweating bullets because he's like, Maxine, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? You're going to destroy our midterm chances. And so right now, the New York Times has an article. They're like, the Democrats are having a debate over what to do to debate Republicans or Trump admin and how to treat these people. And they're melting down as a party. They're attacking one another. I didn't even expect that this would happen. I expected them to just say, no, we're not even touching this. Maxine's on her own on this one. And so they're coming out and attacking her in order to salvage their chances in the midterms. Then you've got polling coming out. And it shows the majority of Americans want to deport illegals. The majority of Americans want to build a border wall. They don't have a problem with that. And I think once they see the bill for it and they realize how little it is compared to the economy, especially the military budget, they're not going to give a fuck. 40-something billion, well, just pay dividends in the future. At that point, you've got a situation where the majority of Americans seem to fall into roughly the camp that I'm in. Build the wall, continue deportation, no sanctuary cities and states. It's a federal supremacy issue when you're dealing with borders. But at the same time, you have to grant some form of clemency, some form of residency at least, to certain groups of people that are here. You can't simply deport 10 plus million people. It is not feasible. But you can't do anything until you build a wall. Until the wall is built, you have a continued problem. You have a continued problem where you can't address the immigration situation because it will continue to worsen. That has to be done first. The Democrats, though, have taken a hard line opposed to any form of meaningful reform that doesn't include blanket amnesty and nothing else. That's basically the Democrats' idea. Trump has come out and attacked them over and over. He has turned what they thought would be a successful way to win the midterms, and then they could have their own immigration reform, I guess, or none at all, probably, in all likelihood. They thought they could at least retake the House based on, well, here's a picture of a crying child. But then it turned out their main propaganda image, whoops, they picked the wrong one because unfortunately it didn't even depict a detention facility. It didn't depict what they were saying. It didn't depict a person from Mexico. And it didn't depict a child crying because they were separated from their parents. No, child is with both parents at the moment, very much happy and fine, and was just being a normal toddler. So that was a problem. And it turned out, and this was another part, they were claiming that it was a unique Trump proposal that was causing the detention of children in these facilities. Then we find out, of course, no, there are twice as many in there under Obama's leadership. So it has nothing to do with Trump. He's literally just doing the same thing the last 3 presidents have been doing. It's just the media never made it an issue. Now, they tried to shut up about it until Maxine Waters weighed in. And now they are strangulating one another. They are trying to, again, it's the same progressive neoliberal divide. The neoliberals want her to shut up, and they're saying, no, we're not going to harass Trump's officials. We're not going to stoop to their level. The progressives are like, no, they're xenophobic, evil Nazi bigots. They shouldn't be able to use a restaurant, and we will heckle them wherever they are. And each time that now you have a group of people heckling someone from the Trump administration. Sean Spicer, someone outside of it. Sean Spicer wants to go and get some fucking crab cakes, and he won't be able to do that because people say, oh, it's Sean Spicer. He was Trump's spokesperson. Get him. And they'll surround him and start rambling and yelling and recording it on their phones very helpfully, them harassing someone in a public space and potentially getting litigated against as a result of that. Then those things go viral online. Oh, look, a bunch of violent liberals that are so intolerant that they want to physically assault and harass people, even though they themselves may not be involved in actual policy making. Like Sarah Huckabee Sanders, she's the press secretary. She doesn't make policies. She just answers questions from a bunch of talking heads from the legacy media networks. You know, people who have some uber special press credentials, as though that meant that they were good journalists. Jim Acosta gets accosted the other day at a rally with Trump. For that one candidate, I believe he's running for governor. And some old lady, it's like so surreal. She's like, oh, you're fake news. Go away, Jim. Haha, you lie all the time. It's like so funny. The Democrats are imploding right now. Now, everyone was talking about how the Republicans were imploding as a party. They've closed rank. They're like, yeah, Trump can do what he wants. Look, we want reform too. They didn't differentiate on what that reform will be. They tried to pass a watered-down neocon version of Trump's proposals that gives him basically one installation of wall funding, like a 20th of its total cost. And they're like, well, every year we'll do this. So basically you wouldn't get a wall until 2030. That's not solving the problem. Trump wants it lump sum. I suggest you give it to him because it's a popular idea. Get the wall built and, by the way, you can have some extra jobs. Hell, there might be people who aren't even full citizens. They're like, temporary residents will be working on the wall. How surreal. No, you should build it. It's popular. Continue the deportations. And yeah, the reform can include closing down some of these facilities, or at least improving them. You don't really need a giant indoor cage. It's not necessary. It doesn't need to be a maximum security facility. Let's put it that way. It should be more like a summer camp. If it's involving children trying to make their lives fucking comfortable, they're not doing anything wrong. If they're unaccompanied, chances are they were sent here by a parent who hired a coyote or something. They're lucky they didn't get killed on the way. They've already been through some shit. I would just say fuck it and give them residency anyway. I know that's not a popular proposal with a lot of Trump fans. As far as the wall, though, I'm on board with it. I think most Americans are. It's just a good idea, and the Democrats have failed. They need to stop. They wish they could stop talking about immigration. I'll tell you what. In the wake of Schumer obstructing and getting slapped in the face by Trump essentially because of it, the Democrats wanted to let the issue go and just focus. I don't know exactly what platform they'd have during the midterms. I guess just, hey, we're not Trump. They would default to that non-platform platform that I think doesn't serve them very well, especially with regards to their odds in the Senate. Maybe in the House you can make an excuse, well, we're the anti-Trump party, he's a bigot. Okay, maybe you almost break even in the House. It's not going to help you in the Senate. The race is already heavily tilted against you. You pissed away your generic ballot lead. You've got 3-to-1 races you have to defend. You've got 6 Democratic senators running that won't even be able to campaign for the whole month of August. It only affects 1 Republican who I believe is favored to win regardless anyway. You're screwed. Immigration was sort of the last gasp of the Democrats trying to formulate some issue that they could run on. You can't run on taxes. It's impossible to win in the midterms while saying, yeah, we want to raise taxes back up to Obama levels. No, we're going to restore the 2.5% tax with the insurance mandate. We're going to restore this tax and that tax. We're going to up it. For people who are making $30K a year, we expect you to pay more of your fair share because we want to, I don't know, buy more weapons and bomb people or something. They're not even clear what they want to spend it on. We need an extra $20-30 billion. What do you, it won't be a wall. You know, you could definitely make that. You could say, well, we're going to raise taxes a little bit on the higher income brackets to pay for the wall that fucking Trump wants. Okay, maybe that would be a sane proposal. Yeah, I think he'd probably get away with it, but they're not intelligent enough to make the proposal. The Democrats are led by someone who is not visible, and by someone who is intrinsically involved with the botched ACA rollout, and by someone who failed to beat Trump, which is Hillary Clinton, and now, talks about how everyone she doesn't like is a bigot and everyone's responsible for her election loss except for her. Those are your leaders as a party. That's not a good place to be, and you haven't formed a platform. I keep warning them. At a minimum, you need a couple platforms other than we're not Trump. What's it going to be? Some fiscal proposal? Immigration reform? Okay, that's fine. You haven't proposed reform. Chuck Schumer has destroyed your ability to do so by saying he won't even consider any legislation. Trump needs to legislate via executive order. If Trump had taken the initiative to do that himself before you complained, you would have called him an imperial president and faulted him for it and said, no, this is just his way of trying to prevent us from reforming immigration and having a sane public national debate over the form of our immigration proposals. He's trying to prevent us from doing that by pretending that he's reformed it with the stroke of his pen. That's exactly what Schumer would say. And the Democrats, in polling, consistently are coming out the underdogs now on the immigration issue. Their Hail Mary failed. That probably means they fail in the midterms. That's about all. Peace out.